Parenting with an ex is stressful enough, but when you throw money into the mix, things can get very heated. Jill Darcey is here with tips to avoid common arguments. Jill, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
When we get divorced or separated, we often will just cry out. It's just not fair if they don't, if the other party doesn't sort of come to the party, as it were.
Absolutely.
Is that just the case, that sometimes you just have to accept it's just not fair and get on with it?
I think you do. Divorce isn't about being fair, because really you're going to see it from your point of view, they're going to see it from their point of view. With irreconcilable differences, like we've said previously, it's not going to be fair. And often fear can stand in the way of getting something working. And so sometimes we fight so much for fear, we forget that why don't we do this in little stages and just get something working between us now.
When you look at a couple who have split up and they have one or more children, typically one of the couple gets the child for more of the time.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Therefore, should the person who doesn't be paying that primary caregiver? Is that how it works under the law?
Typically, that is what happens. And so you will have where it's 50-50, shared care, 50-50.
I've seen that a lot too.
And then it comes down to who earns more, and there's all those sorts of debates that go on.
Oh, you don't just
tested, yeah.
Oh, okay, even if you've got 50-50.
Well, you can still say, look, you're earning a lot more than I am. It's not that you have to pay, but do you pay? All those types of things. However, let's go back to the scenario where one is paying more because they're not actually with the children.
Yes.
So I do believe that it's your responsibility as a parent to help provide for the raising of your children. That's just, you brought them into the world, that's part of being a parent. So if you are the one that's not with the children, it can really hurt a lot because it's the pay, no play, and it's like the double wound. It hurts because you're paying and it hurts because you're not with the child. And so I think for the person who's receiving the money, sometimes you actually need to realise that that's there because it's really often, we know you never get enough money to pay for what the children are. We realise that. And so it's trying to work that out in a way that can work with them.
So I think that you talk in your book, Parenting with the X Factor, about making sure that the money that, say, the ex-husband is giving you, let's just use that scenario, you make it very clear to him that that money is for the kids. It's not you to go out with Sven to a tropical holiday or whatever. Yeah. So how do you illustrate that back to him?
So what I suggest is that you open up a separate account and you say, can you please put that money on an AP, as they normally do, into this account? And then you be really disciplined and you take that money and only use it for the children out of that account. Now, if you really wanted to, you could show him a statement that says here's all the things, because we all know what it's about. But look, I've never really seen that that's had to apply. It's what happens is, for the person who's receiving the money, there's an account there from the ex to pay for the children. And it just builds this attitude of gratitude. Okay. It's kind of like, oh, wow. And it's really subtle, but it's really powerful.
How much money should you be paid if you have the primary careship of your kids? Because my understanding, I've never done anything formal in my relationship, but my understanding is it's actually quite low. That's what I've heard. I mean, from people who have had to take exes to court, that they only get like a couple of $100s a week or something. Is that true?
It is true. They can be fighting for literally low money, and they cause a lot of angst because of it. So what I suggest is, why don't you look at how much you spend if you had the children for, say, 3 months. Have a look at how much you spend if you had them full-time, and then pro-rata it to what your ex would actually need to live. And be generous. These are your children. You know, your ex is not going to have a high-flying lifestyle by what you're paying them when there's children involved. And then the willingness to actually assist and go more does build a bridge that helps with communication. So if you're not being stingy and you're not trying to hold on all the time and you're actually wanting to work with them, that's how we get results.
What about the situation, what do you advise to women or men who have split up and they're the primary caregiver, and then they see their ex with the new younger boyfriend, girlfriend, and he's taking her on trips, and I mean, you can probably feel a bit bitter. How do you sort of reconcile that?
Well, as harsh as it is, your ex is not there to support your lifestyle. The ex is there to build their lifestyle and the lifestyle of the children.
All right.
So hopefully that ex is going to be sharing those opportunities with the children. And really the idea is that you're grateful that that is happening. So be grateful that your children are having these fantastic experiences and you're not having to pay for them.
No, but I'm talking about what happens if you are observing them with their new partner, spending money on their new partner.
That is part of it's not fair. You've got to accept that that is what it is. That is divorce. That is what is so heartbreaking. That is what is so difficult for people to come to terms with, especially if you've been an at-home parent and has been relying on that future earnings and all those sorts of things, which is why we have these debates. And so really, I can say that you can go through that system and you can try and fight it out and get more money, but it's not going to help you long term.
And the relationship, it's not going to help that if you go through the courts. What do you tell your children, and at what age, about the money situation? Do you make it clear that Dad is funding some of their life?
I think it's a great thing to say that we share the costs of what this is, and if you have an bigger bill that comes in, you say, oh look, I'll give Dad a call and see if he wants to help out with that. And look, sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. But there's a lot of more success that comes when you don't have this huge attachment to making it fair and it has to be that he's paying half. And so if you can just sort of let that go a bit and let it be blatant, here's the costs. This is what it costs to have your children. Would you like to help with some of this? See where it's at. Some of them are never going to pay, but fighting them is not going to get them to pay any more willingly.
So you're better to do it as a negotiation.
Absolutely.
Really, really good advice. Thank you so much for that, Jill. Hopefully people got a lot out of it.
Thank you.
And you can find out more about the Complex Family Foundation on our website and, of course, Jill's book, which is excellent.